Picture this. August 1942. The world is engulfed in the flames of the Second World War. On the vast plains of the Eastern Front, one of the most brutal and pivotal clashes in human history is about to unfold. This isn't just a battle for a city. It's a battle for the very soul of a nation and the future of the entire war. This is the story of the Battle of Stalingrad. To truly grasp why Stalingrad was so important, we need to rewind a bit. A year earlier, in 1941, Hitler's invasion of Moscow had failed. So, in 1942, Germany's war machine pivoted south. The new prize? The oil fields of the Caucasus. Without that oil, Germany's tanks and planes would grind to a halt. And standing right in the way was a city on the Volga River, Stalingrad. Named after the Soviet leader, Joseph Stalin, capturing the city wasn't just a strategic goal. For Hitler, it was a personal obsession. Taking Stalingrad would sever vital Soviet supply lines, and more importantly, deal a massive psychological blow. It would be a symbol of Nazi dominance. So the German Sixth Army, a powerful and experienced force led by General Friedrich Paulus, was sent to take the city. By late August, they were at the city's doorstep. The assault began not with soldiers, but with fire from the sky. The German Air Force, the Luftwaffe, unleashed a relentless bombing campaign. In just the first week, over 1,000 tons of bombs rained down, turning Stalingrad into a hellscape of rubble, twisted metal, and shattered buildings. It was a city in ruins before the ground fighting even began. What followed was a descent into a new kind of warfare, something the soldiers called rat warfare. This was urban combat at its most savage. The fighting wasn't for miles of territory, but for single streets, for individual buildings, for floors, and even for single rooms. The average life expectancy of a new Soviet soldier arriving in the city was less than 24 hours. The battleground was a maze of collapsed structures, where a pile of bricks could hide a machine gun nest and a sewer tunnel could be an attack route. The Soviet defense, commanded by General Vasily Chukov, was defined by one word: resilience. Chukov implemented a brutal but effective strategy called hugging the enemy. He ordered his troops to stay as close to the German lines as possible, sometimes just yards away. This meant the German Luftwaffe couldn't drop their bombs without risking hitting their own men. It forced the Germans into the close-quarters combat that the Soviets, fighting on their home turf, excelled at. Every inch of Stalingrad was fiercely contested. Iconic locations became symbols of Soviet defiance. The grain elevator, a massive concrete silo, was defended by a small group of soldiers who held off German attacks for days. The Red October steel factory became a battlefield where fighting raged, while workers continued to repair tanks just feet away from the front line. And then there was Mamayev Kurgan, a strategic hill overlooking the city. Control of this hill meant control of Stalingrad, and it changed hands dozens of times, its soil soaked with the blood of thousands. Amidst the chaos, incredible stories of heroism emerged. Soldiers fought to their last bullet, using their rifles as clubs when ammunition ran out. Civilians, caught in the crossfire, refused to give up their city. They dug trenches, carried supplies, and tended to the wounded. Women played a crucial role, serving as medics, communications operators, and even deadly snipers. One of the most famous, Lyudmila Pavlyuchenko, was credited with over 300 kills during the war, many of them in the brutal crucible of Stalingrad. As the vicious autumn fighting bled into winter, the tide began to turn. The Russian winter, Germany's old enemy, arrived with a vengeance. But the Soviets had a plan. On November 19, 1942, they launched Operation Uranus. This wasn't a direct attack on the German Sixth Army in the city. Instead, it was a massive pincer movement, a colossal counteroffensive that targeted the weaker flanks of the German force. These flanks were held not by elite German troops, but by their less-equipped Romanian, Italian, and Hungarian allies. Under the overwhelming Soviet assault, the Axis flanks collapsed. Within days, the trap snapped shut. As Soviet armies met west of Stalingrad, completely encircling General Paulus and his entire Sixth Army. Over 250,000 German soldiers were now trapped inside the city they had come to conquer. General Paulus knew his situation was desperate and pleaded with Hitler for permission to break out. But Hitler, from his headquarters hundreds of miles away, refused. He was obsessed with the symbolic value of the city and ordered the Sixth Army to hold on at all costs. He promised them that they would be resupplied by air. It was a promise that would never be kept. As December deepened, the conditions inside the Stalingrad pocket became catastrophic. Temperatures plummeted to 40 degrees below zero. Food ran out. Ammunition became scarce. The Luftwaffe's airlift attempt was a dismal failure. The starving, freezing soldiers were surrounded, with no hope of rescue. They were reduced to eating their horses, then dogs, and eventually rats. Frostbite, disease, and starvation claimed thousands of lives every day. It was a slow, agonizing death. By late January 1943, the end was near. The Soviets broke the pocket into smaller and smaller pieces. Faced with the complete annihilation of his men, General Paulus finally defied Hitler's orders. On January 31st, he surrendered. He had just been promoted to Field Marshal by Hitler, a move meant to encourage him to fight to the death, as no German Field Marshal had ever been taken alive. Paulus chose to live. The last pockets of German resistance gave up on February 2nd. The battle for Stalingrad was over. The human cost was almost unimaginable. Germany and its allies suffered around 800,000 casualties, killed, wounded, or captured. Of the nearly 100,000 who surrendered, only about 5,000 would ever see Germany again. The Soviet Union's losses were even greater, with over 1.1 million soldiers lost, and an estimated 40,000 civilians killed in the city they refused to abandon. The impact of Stalingrad echoed across the globe. It was the first major, undeniable defeat for Nazi Germany's army. The myth of German invincibility, which had terrified Europe for years, was shattered in the rubble of one city. The loss of the entire elite Sixth Army was a blow from which the German military would never fully recover. From this point on, the strategic initiative on the Eastern Front belonged to the Soviet Union. They would be the ones advancing, pushing the German army all the way back to Berlin. For the Allies fighting elsewhere, Stalingrad was a beacon of hope. It proved that Hitler's war machine could be stopped, and it could be beaten. Today, the city, renamed Volgograd in 1961, still bears the scars and memories of that epic struggle. Atop the Mamayev-Kurgan Hill stands one of the world's most powerful war memorials. The centerpiece is The Motherland Calls, a colossal statue of a woman with a sword raised, calling her sons to defend their homeland. It's a breathtaking tribute to the soldiers who fought and died there. The Battle of Stalingrad remains a profound lesson in history. It's a testament to the unimaginable horrors of war, but also a symbol of incredible resilience and the power of a people defending their home against tyranny. It shows us that even in the darkest of times, courage and sacrifice can, quite literally, change the world. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as compelling as we do, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into history as most important moments. We'll see you next time.